In the Bible, the city of Ai is mostly mentioned as part of Israel's emergence and settlement in Canaan. Outside of the book of Joshua, Ai is mentioned twice in Genesis and relates closely to the city of Bethel. Ai is also mentioned in Ezra 2 and Nehemiah 7, once again connected to Bethel, with them having a combined 223 people returning from Babylonian captivity. Ai is the second city the Israelites encounter as they sought to conquer the land promised to them by the Lord. Following the great victory at Jericho, Joshua sent spies deeper into the region to determine their next move. The spies returned saying there was no need to send the entire army because the people of Ai are few. Joshua 7:3. The text then tells us that the few of Ai defeated the Israelites and killed 36 of Joshua's army, Joshua 7:4-5. The remainder fled. The Lord reveals to Joshua that Achan had sinned. So, Joshua and the people dealt with the sin of Achan, Joshua 7:6-26, and attacked Ai again using a well-planned strategy, 8:1-29. The second attack was successful, and we are told that Joshua burned Ai and made it forever a heap of ruins, as it is to this day. Joshua 8:28. Following Kathleen Kenyon's shocking archaeological conclusions from Jericho, Joseph Callaway was attracted to examine Ai as well. So, from 1964 to 1972, Callaway excavated a location called Et Tel, which was thought to be the biblical city of Ai. After his excavations at Et Tel, Callaway concluded, like Kenyon at Jericho before him, that there was no settlement at Ai after about 1500 BC. Since the two estimated dates for Israel's entry into Canaan are mid to late 1400s or late 1200s BC, in Callaway's conclusions, there was no Ai for Joshua to attack and destroy. Callaway bluntly stated, "Archaeology has wiped out the historical credibility of the conquest of Ai, as reported in Joshua 7-8. There are several reasons why Callaway's historical declaration does not mean all is lost concerning the Bible's historical credibility, however. First, there is great ambiguity contained within the name Ai itself, which simply means heap of ruins, as does the name Et Tel. Further complicating the issue is the Hebrew use of the definite article in its treatment of Ai. In the conquest stories of the Bible, Ai is used with the definite article. The understanding of Ai with the definite article is the ruins, a specific heap of ruins, the ruins. We know for certain that Ai is the heap of ruins near biblical Bethel, since the two are mentioned together in several biblical texts. But what if there is more than one heap of ruins in the vicinity of Bethel? Which one would have been the ruins? The ruins must have been so well known to the biblical writers and to the people of the region that they were simply known as the ruins. But that doesn't mean Callaway's heap of ruins were Joshua's heap of ruins. So, beyond the ambiguity of the name Ai, the ruins, a second reason for rethinking Callaway's declaration is the uncertainty about the exact geographical location of the ruins. This uncertainty raises the question, is it possible that Callaway excavated a heap of ruins that were the wrong heap of ruins? Brian Wood has argued that he did. Third, the fact that Joshua used the name Ai, the ruins, demonstrates that it was indeed a heap of ruins when they crossed into Canaan. Joshua knew it had been destroyed prior to their arrival. Joshua knew it was a heap of ruins, if for no other reason than the name itself. Even more interesting is that Moses knew it too. In the book of Genesis, where readers first hear about the city, Moses calls it Ai, the ruins. So, Moses, Joshua, and all who called that location Ai were proclaiming it to be the ruins. Callaway's declaration only confirmed what Moses, Joshua, and the Israelites knew. Ai was indeed the heap of ruins near Bethel that were ruined prior to their arrival. But these ideas raise another set of questions about Ai, don't they? What about the city's inhabitants? How did Joshua destroy and burn a place that was already a heap of ruins? It seems as if one answer leads to other questions. For those of us who believe the Bible and trust it, we do not seek to produce an archaeological history without the Bible. Neither do we want to hide our eyes to the fact that many areas of study, like archaeology, geography, history, sociology, anthropology, and many other disciplines, can help us understand the Bible better. So, how should we go forward? The biblical city of Ai and its issues might be able to help us think our way forward. At the time that Kenyon and Callaway excavated Jericho and Ai, the field of archaeology was in the midst of a struggle. For its entire existence, archaeology had been seen as a sub-discipline of biblical studies. A new archaeology, partly developed and used by Kenyon, which utilized the latest scientific and excavation techniques, offered the hope that archaeology was becoming its own independent field of study. Thus, these archaeological assertions of Kenyon and Callaway became platforms from which to declare the independence of archaeology. In effect, this was archaeology's breaking of the biblical restraints. A negative result of the decades-long struggle to liberate archaeology from biblical studies is that many archaeologists have become accustomed to making exclusive and corrective truth claims about the Bible based solely upon their archaeological data. But in similar fashion, many biblical scholars make historical claims without the aid of archaeology. Thus, in some areas, a standoff has been created. The situation of Ai is one of those. There is indeed a methodological conundrum concerning how the fields of biblical studies and archaeology can dialogue. How do scholars from either field respectfully handle the interpretations of the other, while remaining true to the interpretations of their own discipline, especially if the two data sets disagree? For teachers and preachers of the Bible, the question is, what methods can be employed to integrate archaeological data into biblical studies that do not disrespect nor ignore the dataset of either discipline? For archaeologists, the question is, what methods can be employed to integrate biblical data into archaeological studies that do not disrespect nor ignore the dataset of either discipline? First, to have a conversation, both participants must be allowed to speak. The Bible has its voice, as does archaeology. Students, scholars, and readers of the Bible must recognize that there are a multitude of sciences and disciplines that can lend to the conversation. If a true conversation is to be had, all participants should be heard. Second, understanding the perspective of each conversational partner is necessary for a healthy conversation. Biblicists and archaeologists alike must recognize the value of understanding the conversational input of one another. The same is true concerning the input of other fields. Third, as in any conversation, some input becomes more valuable and provides better clarity about the topic of conversation. During the conversation, each participant must for themselves determine which input is the best. Listening to each voice and understanding that input is essential for determining which input is the best. John Monson has written a very helpful article concerning the story of Ai. He states that he is optimistic about how different kinds of information can inform the Bible. Monson believes a close reading of Joshua 7 through 8, along with an intimate understanding of the geography of the area, are helpful conversation partners. Using the terms from the Bible such as the ruins, the valley, Joshua 8:13, the pass, Joshua 10, the gate, Joshua 7:5, the broken places, Joshua 7:5, and deep ravine, Joshua 8:11. Monson demonstrates that allowing the Bible to speak through the land and the land speak through the Bible answers most of the questions surrounding Joshua 7 through 8 about Ai. In his analysis, Et Tel is the ruins, identified by Callaway and destroyed around 1500 BC. As a place of destruction quite near to Bethel and located on the main route from Jericho into the country's highland region, the ruins had become a known landmark. as is indicated by the usage of Moses and Joshua. Ai's proximity to the larger city of Bethel probably prohibited it from being rebuilt, but it remained as a meager outpost or an encampment on the road to Jericho. This lends well to the report of the spies who said, "They are few." Monson strongly asserts that it is clear that when geographical analysis is added to the study of Israel's entry into Canaan, and when archaeological data is prevented from being the final arbiter of all things historical, the most plausible and understandable reconstruction is that the biblical text reflects actual events of the Israelite arrival in the late Bronze Age Canaan. So, we see that archaeology plays a part in understanding the story of Ai. Ai was destroyed prior to Moses' rise to leadership. Moses and Joshua both knew of the place called the Ruins. The vivid geographical detail given in the book of Joshua lends itself to being an accuracy check in which the Bible was found accurate. Thus, as the conversation about Ai allowed the three partners, the Bible, archaeology, and geography, to speak, the challenge can be overcome.
Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like and share, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future videos.